Hello, welcome to this Choco update. Let's see the Atlantic and the Eastern Pacific. So we have these systems in the Atlantic, these disturbances. There's this one at 0%, the remnants of Gordon. So that, don't worry about that. There's this one at 10%, a low pressure there. There still has some showers there, but not expected to become anything great. There's this one already at 40% that was added yesterday near the coast of Africa. So tropical wave expected to move westward from the coast of Africa Sunday or Monday. Gradual development of the system is possible. Thereafter, tropical depression could form next week while the waves move westward across the eastern central tropical Atlantic. So there's that area and that area in the Western Caribbean and Gulf there. So it's already 60% there. So a broad area of low pressure is likely to form by the early part to middle part next week in the northwestern Caribbean Sea and adjacent parts of Central America. Thereafter, gradual development of the system is possible. Tropical depression could form as the system moves slowly northward across the northwestern Caribbean Sea and the Gulf of Mexico through the end of next week. Regardless, as the system is expected to produce heavy rains over parts of Central America during the next several days. So that's the most important thing there. So let's see here. There's these two areas on the Eastern Pacific, one at 50%. So let's see, another low pressure could form to the southwest coast of Mexico during the next couple of days. Environmental conditions appear conducive for some slow development. The system tropical depression could form during the early middle part next week, while the system moves slowly eastward or northward. So 50% there. There's this other system 30% and 10%. It's organized showers and thunderstorms located a few hundred miles south of the coast of southern Mexico, associated with a trough low pressure. Some gradual development of the system is possible where meanders offshore for early next week. Then it moves slowly eastward and northeastward towards the coast of southern Mexico during the middle part of next week. So really should watch there in Mexico. So let's see, Central Pacific, there's actually one area there I didn't expect this. Let's see, it's at 40%, so a broad area of low pressure located about 1,200 miles east of southeast of Hawaii Islands, produces organized showers and thunderstorms. Environmental conditions appear conducive for some slow development of the system during the next several days, and tropical depression could form early next week while it moves west-northwest about 5 to 10 miles per hour there. So be aware. Let's see, but it won't affect land or anything. So the models for the Atlantic have the GFS as the system trying to organize in the Gulf there, and then it goes, the latest run, the 12C, has it going like into Alabama and the Florida Panhandle like a big rainmaker. And then it has that system developing as well off of Africa, and then maybe becoming a hurricane out there in the Atlantic and maybe curving towards Europe. So let's see, then it has another tropical storm getting going later by October 7th, a hurricane. So we'll monitor that, but that's far away. And then let's see, it has also the two systems trying to organize near Mexico and Guatemala, both of them affecting land in Mexico there. So really gotta watch. And it has another system spinning up in the southwestern Caribbean, going towards the Yucatan and the Gulf. But this is the GFS 10 days out. He does like pretty crazy things. So let's not look at that for now, but let's see the European. It shows like there's low pressure again going on the Eastern Pacific, probably going into the southern coast of Mexico. So I'll say this in Spanish later, but if you are in the southern coast of Mexico, there's a high confidence that this might affect you as a tropical storm, so be aware. In the Gulf, the European gradually organizes something very broad and goes towards Florida too in the southeast. So this is the European, also thinking like a broad tropical storm towards the southeast there. Literally the same path as the GFS had on the 12C. So we'll keep watching that. The Canadian has also the system organizing through Mexico and Guatemala, right between Mexico and Guatemala there. And then another system trying to get going near Mexico later. Then it has the system going through the Yucatan, organizing the Gulf, but like not very organizing, like you'll be like a little bit disorganized there, and affects many states there with heavy rain. So we'll check that, and then it shows like the system off of Africa might become something weak and then strengthen up later. So we'll monitor that as well. There's the icon too. It shows the system getting going on the Eastern Pacific towards Mexico and Guatemala, and another one getting going later into Mexico again in the Eastern Pacific. Then it has the system gradually organizing the Gulf and becoming something very disorganized and weak, but it might become a tropical storm into Louisiana, as the icon is saying. But I think it might go towards Florida, like the European is saying. So let's see. And it has something coming off of Africa there, but still very weak. Might try to become something, but there might be some heavy rains in the Cabo Verde from time to time. So be aware. There's the Neptune. So let's see. Here, so this is the, because this one is not complete, the 18Z from yesterday, the Neptune. He organizes something in the Pacific there, kind of meanders, goes towards Mexico. Then it organizes like a hurricane in the Gulf. So this model is crazy, so like a hurricane north of the Yucatan there. So we'll keep watching, and it also has the stuff near Africa. There's this other model here. I don't quite know where it's from, but it shows like two low pressures trying to organize near Africa, and the one gradually organizing the Gulf and on the Eastern Pacific. So we'll watch that. So be aware. Now let's see the European, the moisture, it shows like the 0Z. So it shows still some dry air there in the Gulf, but the moisture gradually organizes in the Eastern Pacific and the Caribbean. Then it surges north, more moisture there as the system goes, but it does show some dry air coming back behind it from Texas. So there might be some dry air invading this system, but we will keep checking. Then there's the systems off of Africa in the middle of some dry air, but they might become something shortly. So let's see. There's the wind shear too. It's still kind of, let's see, it's still kind of high because of that trough there, but then it will kind of lower where the gyre might be, show some lower wind shear right there in Central America as it pulls north, but there might be some wind shear around it in the U.S. and other areas, but where it will be at, it shows like lower wind shear. So this might try to become something in the main development region. There's fewer wind shear, but still a little bit. So we'll keep watching this. And the ensemble from the European have still a lot of support for this going up into Florida or into Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, but this might affect the whole southeast there with a lot of rain. Then it has a lot of support on the Eastern Pacific into Mexico, and some support still for the Atlantic. It even has one member towards the Caribbean, but that's like only one member, so there's still time to watch that, but most indicate you go north into the Atlantic, so be aware. Let's see. There's the GFS as well. It shows a lot of support for something out there in the Atlantic, and also a lot in the Eastern Pacific and Gulf there. So really gotta be watching the Gulf for this season. This might not be like a major hurricane, but I think this will be like a tropical storm or a weak hurricane. There will be like a lot of rain there. So keep watching this closely. And the tropical storm probabilities are right like 40% on the Eastern Pacific by the 24th, and then they go to like a 70% there on the Eastern Pacific on the 25th. On the 26th, some probabilities 20 to 30% in the Atlantic, and all the way to 50% in the Gulf by the 27th. Then it goes to like a 70% tropical storm probability in the Gulf, so this definitely increasing, and then it goes there towards the U.S. And then out there in the Atlantic shows like a 10 to 20% probabilities there, but lower, nothing crazy there. And this is tropical storm. Tropical depression probabilities are already like 70% of Central America, but this will only develop later, so ignore that for now. But it shows like almost 90% on the Eastern Pacific and some 40% already in Africa. And those two little systems that will die off. Then it keeps showing like a 70%, 80% there of Central America by the 25th on the Eastern Pacific. Yeah, it has all the way to 70% there off of Africa by the 25th. Then it goes to like an 80% of an Africa and 100% tropical depression probabilities. in the Caribbean. Then it keeps going, crosses the Yucatan, still at the 90, 100%. Then it goes into the Gulf there. So very high on the Eastern Pacific in Mexico too. Then the one in the Atlantic continues there. It shows like two of them, two different signals, so we'll keep watching that. But the hurricane probabilities are like some 20% on the Eastern Pacific, but then it grows there in the 20%, it gets to a 5% in the Gulf hurricane probability, and even to a 10, even to a 10 to 20% by the 30th there in the Gulf, but nothing crazy. We'll keep watching that, but be aware if you are there. Stay tuned to the updates and everything. So let's see. But the main threat for now is just the heavy rainfall this will cause in Central America. Only the next 2 days already show like in Central America like two almost 3 inches, like 4 inches in Honduras, and for you it's better. Let's see, millimeters, almost 100 millimeters in parts of southern Honduras, 104. Nicaragua close to 85 millimeters next 2 days. Let's see, next one day show like 59 millimeters. Alright, some storms in Costa Rica, southern Guatemala a little bit, but mainly Honduras and Nicaragua. Next 2 days already shows that. It shows more in Costa Rica too, like some 80 to 100 millimeters. In Jamaica, already shows in the next 2 days more than 40, 50 millimeters, so be aware as well. Next 3 days already shows way more building the Caribbean and in Central America, so Nicaragua already shows more than 117 millimeters. The next 3 days show like 123. Southern Honduras, so like 134 millimeters. So these might be like some heavier thunderstorms. It might cause flooding, especially in those areas with higher accumulations. Close to 100 millimeters in other areas in Nicaragua, more than 87 millimeters there. In Costa Rica, northwestern Costa Rica, shows very heavy there. So be aware. Near Jamaica and the Cayman Islands, show like next 3 days more than 90 millimeters in the Cayman Islands, and some parts of Jamaica, some higher accumulations, so be aware there. In Cuba, a little bit less, but there might be some heavier storms from time to time. Then next 4 days already shows a bunch building on the Eastern Pacific to Mexico there, like 185 millimeters. Guatemala 190, and like Honduras show like 200 millimeters already. Next 4 days in Honduras. Nicaragua like 211 millimeters next 4 days, 190 millimeters. North and western Nicaragua especially, and more storms throughout the areas. Northwestern Costa Rica too. And then let's see, in the next 5 days, as this potential storm goes into Mexico, it shows there, let's see, shows as it goes there, so some very high accumulations, like 300 millimeters throughout southern Mexico, 315, 300, 299. So this might cause a lot of flooding there towards Mexico. So please warn others there, like 190 millimeters, or there's close to 100 millimeters throughout the west coast there. And if I put this until the 30th, it already shows those other systems potentially near Mexico, more than 300 millimeters throughout a big portion of the western coast of Mexico in the next 8 days. And then it shows where the system might hit, close to 400 millimeters, and more around other areas there in Central America. So please stay safe from this there. Next 5 days in Jamaica shows a little bit more there, close to 100 millimeters. Near western Cuba, where this might affect, show like 173 millimeters, so please be aware. In the Yucatan, 116. Some models passes this between Cuba and the Yucatan, and some take over the Yucatan, so this still depends, but shows a lot in western Colombia too. And on the eastern Caribbean, like 27 millimeters, 7 millimeters, 23. Might be some showers passing by there, some thunderstorms from time to time, but nothing that crazy. Shows in the Cabo Verde some more storms that the system passes, like 23, 25 millimeters, but might be some heavier thunderstorms. And yeah, so be aware. And as this system goes towards the U.S., the European models is already showing like up there in Florida and some areas more than 300 millimeters, and for Georgia and everything. So we'll monitor this very closely. But now that there's the GFS, next 5 days on the GFS. Yes, the system making landfall right between Guatemala and southern Mexico, more than 377 millimeters, 369 millimeters. So please be aware that this is a big threat. And then some more storms through Guatemala, Belize, and the Yucatan. So might be more storms throughout there. And let's see if other parts of Mexico might be some other systems, so please be careful there. Nicaragua shows like 287 millimeters, so might be some flooding there, some heavy rain for Costa Rica as well, and near San Andres. And it has been this passing right through western Cuba, more than 300 millimeters there, and going north into the U.S. He has some showers on the eastern Caribbean and more on the Cabo Verde, so be careful there. The icon has been exaggerating a lot lately, but the past few runs didn't show anything crazy. So in terms of accumulation, it's like 300, 400 millimeters between Mexico and Guatemala, 400, 341. So please be careful there. Throughout all areas of southern Mexico, near the Gulf too, some heavy rain. In Honduras, Guatemala might have some heavier storms into Nicaragua as well. So please be aware, near Jamaica, Cuba. So stay safe there. Please be careful with this system. So the immediate threat is like the heavy rains. The second most immediate threat, the system into Mexico. And the third most, the system into the US. So please stay safe. Then the European has some wind gusts for that system possibly into Mexico by the 26th on Thursday. So like some 110 km/h gusts into western Mexico as the system makes landfall, and maybe some storm surge too. So please stay safe there. Then as the one gradually organizes in the Gulf, he has like towards Louisiana and some areas later, some very high gusts as well, but nothing crazy. Then it goes into Florida there later, but there's still some time to watch this. And I wonder if this is an invest. I don't think so, but let's see. There's 96L, but this is the one lonely in the Atlantic there, so it won't become anything crazy. Yeah, there's the one of Gordon that is basically dead. So yeah, so be aware there. Please monitor this and stay safe in Central America there from the heavy rains. So let's see here. I'll get a different map for the accumulations, and then I'll say that in Spanish for the storms there. So let's see, tropical Caribbean. So it should. So this is the GFS. Let's see if I can get precipitation here. So let me say this. Hola, ¿qué tal? Entonces, a estos sistemas tropicales se formando en el Pacífico Oriental y el Atlántico. Entonces, va a haber muchísima lluvia fuerte en México, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica y Cuba. Entonces, creo que el peligro más grande ahora es en México. Esta tormenta tropical que se puede formar en el Pacífico y atingir México como el jueves que viene así. El sur de México muestra más de 400 milímetros de lluvia hasta el día 30 en el sur de México. Muestra mucho en Guatemala, en Nicaragua también. Entonces puede haber tormentas muy fuertes en Honduras, El Salvador, lluvia fuerte también. Principalmente en México y Guatemala va a haber lluvia muy fuerte. En Nicaragua y otras zonas. Entonces muchísimas precauciones con esta lluvia. Puede haber inundaciones de todo con estas tormentas, y muestra este sistema en Cuba que puede dejar lluvia fuerte en el oeste de Cuba, sí, y hay un modelo meteorológico diferente que muestra hasta el día 30 muchísimo en México de esta tormenta tropical, más en Nicaragua, Honduras, Guatemala, más lluvias de tormentas, y oeste de Cuba también. En Costa Rica y Jamaica puede haber un poco más, entonces muchísimas precauciones. Good, so this mainly it, I think. So please stay safe from these heavy rains there, and let's just show you another interesting thing here. So wait, North Atlantic, there's also this European AI model that has been doing interesting this last couple of weeks. So it shows a system forming there on the Western Caribbean against a tropical storm or maybe hurricane towards like Florida and Alabama there. There's this AI model and there's like this other one too. Maybe they are similar. So this one also picks up a storm forming there going towards like Florida and the Gulf of Louisiana maybe. So we'll watch this very closely and please stay safe there. And there's the ensembles from the Canadian, because I showed you the GFS and the European. It has the system coming off of Africa, some probabilities there. The most take this there towards the north, but eventually, like after October 2nd, some try to approach it to the Caribbean, but most of them just curve north. Then in the Gulf, shows that the system there is still like some weak signals, but might be something weak there, a storm or something, but it isn't showing like crazy things. Then on the Eastern Pacific near Mexico, so please stay safe there, and bye.